How y'all doing? I'm Joshua Wiley, and this is part 3. Yeah, I think it's part 3. This is part 3 of a blueprint of a servant. But the title actually came from a personal study I was doing on another subject, and God said this has everything to do with a blueprint of a servant. And I'm like, wow, you're right. But this is the lie of Cain. The lie of Cain. Now, many of us know the story of Cain and Abel. Cain was the first child, the first human child ever born, who turned out to be a murderer. What does this have to do with blueprint of a servant? Well, I'm gonna get to it, but I had to bring out one point that I forgot about: practice. We know that part 2 is about practicing God's law, putting God's law into effect. And just a quick reiteration, why we say practice, because it's through practice that you develop. Like when you practice basketball, you develop as a player. Well, through practice, you develop as a Christian. How do you develop? You get to see your flaws, your weaknesses, get your stance right. You know, what's your strong points? What do you need to give to the Lord? What situations should you try not to get into? And of course, my partners are here. But anyway, that's what practice does. But one thing I left out of practice, or one thing I left out, was practice also builds confidence. But before I get to confidence, the other thing that practice does is it makes it a habit. You get into the habit. We're creatures of habit. Everything we do turns into a habit, whether it's good or bad. You know, I used to have a bad habit of picking my lips all the time. Everything we do turns into a habit, you know. And so if you're practicing keeping the commandments, because it is hard. When you're practicing keeping all 10 commandments, they actually become a habit to you. And you find yourself doing them without even thinking about it. So we have that it becomes a habit. But the one thing I forgot to add in was confidence. Confidence. It builds your confidence. And what's another word for confidence when it comes to the Bible? It's called faith. Faith. Some of us have no faith at all because we're not putting into practice. We're not putting into practice what we believe. The more you put into practice, I'm explaining how it builds your confidence. The more you put it into practice, the more confident you'll find that, hey, this actually works. I come out way better keeping God's law than I did when I was just out doing my own thing. This is a perfect example. There was a hill where I used to live at. When you're going up over this hill, you can't see the other side. I'm telling you, you can't see the other side. And so all you know is I gotta stay between the lines, because if you drift over out of the line while you're going over that side and another car's coming up on the other side, y'all gonna smack. Boom, you're gonna smack. The minute you drift over into their line while you're going over the hill and another car's coming, y'all gonna smack. So what you do is you stay in between your line. There used to be this big tow truck, the big old huge tow truck. Every morning while I'm driving for work, coming over this hill, me and him would pass each other on that hill every single time. The first couple times I'd be like, whoo, you know, I'm like, whoo, man, if I'd have drifted over, that would have been it, you know, because he going fast, we're going the speed limit, so it's like, zzz. The more I drove over that hill and stayed in my lines, the more confidence I got in those lines. And the same with him. And we knew that as long as we both stayed in our lines, we were safe. As long as we stayed in between the lines. And that's just like the commandments. The more you stay in between those laws and you see stuff falling down around you, like, wow, when I drift over out of that line, I'm smacking into a problem. So the more you learn to stay in between those lines, the more confident you have in those lines to keep you safe. You're like, wow. You know, when I see so many other problems that I put myself through when I drifted out of the lines, when I wasn't keeping the law, or when I see some of the issues and problems that my friends and families have When they drift out of the lines, the more confidence I have in the lines. You know? So that's one way to practice. Putting the commandments to use. It builds your confidence in the law. It builds up your faith. It builds up your faith that, hey, God is the best way to choose. You know, it's like an old man said one time. He said, you know, if I get to the end of my life and God, let's say God isn't real, he said, I wouldn't change a thing, because keeping God's law has made me such a better person and made my life so much happier. He said I wouldn't change a thing. And I completely understand. But anyway, part 3, the lie of Cain. The lie of Cain. Now this is crucial, y'all. This is definitely crucial. You say, what is the lie of Cain? See, we know that Cain and his brother, they were born the same way, had the same tutelage, as you could say, had the same upbringing. One was obedient, one was disobedient. They both built altars to God. They both resurrected altars. Cain wanted to put his own things on the altar. Now God had already let them know they were supposed to put a lamb, which signified Christ the Redeemer. They were supposed to put a lamb on the altar. But Cain wanted to do his own thing and bring fruit. And we're going to get into that. What's the importance of that? Matter of fact, let's get into it now. The thing about it, what we're going to get into is, the thing about it is, these two represent many Christians of today. So many of us want to say, oh, I'm a good person. I believe in Jesus, but I'm a good person. I do good things in my life. You know, I'm not out robbing, stealing, or killing. And that should be pleasing to God. Beloved, that's the lie of Cain. Is it a coincidence that he brought fruit? What does fruit symbolize in the Bible? Fruit symbolizes our works, our actions. So what Cain was saying here, even though I'm being disobedient, even though I'm not doing what you commanded me to do, I'm bringing my good fruit, my good actions to the table. That should be good enough for you, God. You know, I don't smoke. I don't kill. I don't steal. I'm bringing my good works. You know, I helped a homeless guy the other day. You know, I go out to the soup kitchen once a month. You know, whenever my family need or friends need some money, I help them out. You know, whenever somebody needs a ride, I give it to them. I'm bringing my good fruit. I'm placing my fruit, my good works on the altar, hoping that they be good enough. But he's still not being obedient. And beloved, this is the lie of Cain. The devil deceived Cain into thinking that if he just be a good person, you know, he doesn't have to go to church all the time. What's that? He doesn't have to really keep the 10 Commandments, the blueprint, like God says keep them. God will still be okay with it. But Cain got upset because God didn't accept his offering at all. And God even told him. Let's turn there. God, you know, it's funny because like I stated before, there's a lie going through Christianity. And this is one of the main reasons why I feel like the Holy Spirit is leading me to do this series. Because there's a lie going through Christianity that we're under grace and not the law. That's basically saying, I want God's acceptance. I'm under his love, but I don't have to do what he commands to get his love. I don't have to be pleasing. That's like, say, my wife. That's like me saying that I want her love and acceptance, but I don't have to do nothing that makes her happy. Even though she says, this is what makes me happy, this is what makes me happy. I don't have to do any of that stuff to get her acceptance and her love. Shouldn't I want to be pleasing to my wife? Shouldn't you want to be pleasing to God? See, that lie is so dangerous and it's so broad. You're under grace, not the law. Beloved, Satan has been against God's law from day one. From day one. There's a lot I want to share, so let me stop talking and get into it. Look what God tells Cain, and God is pleading with Cain. See, God is actually working with Cain. He's telling Cain when Cain's offering wasn't accepted, God comes and talks to him. He's like, look, Cain, if you do what's right, you'll be accepted. Just do what's right. Just do what I tell you. It's that simple. God is so simple. He's like, just do what I tell you. If he says go to church on Saturday, go to church on Saturday. Let's stop making excuses. Well, tradition, my grandma went to church on Sunday. Tradition-wise, if God says keep his commandments and do these certain things, just do it. It's that simple. Just do it and watch what the blessings that'll flow. Too many times, like I stated in the past videos, we make excuses. We make up our own rules. That's why it's so gravy to hear, oh, I don't have to live up under the law, because instantly I make my own laws for Christianity. Well, even though God says a little wine don't hurt, on a regular basis. Even though God says be sober, a little wine don't hurt. It don't matter if I go out every now and again. I can go to the club every now and again. Ain't nothing wrong with it. When we're not living by the commandments, we end up making our own little rules to Christianity. Our own little rules. We end up bringing our own fruit to the altar, like Cain did, saying, here, God, here's my sacrifice. Are you going to accept it? And then we wonder why he doesn't accept it. But look what he tells Cain. Let me get to it. Genesis 4. When you go to Genesis 4 and you read verse 7. Well, let's start at verse 6. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? He's asking him, why are you sad? Just like it's funny. I just told my daughter this not too long ago. What are you sad for? He says, if thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. God is basically saying, if you do what you know you're supposed to do, you're gonna be accepted. You're gonna find favor from God. And this is God saying that if you just obey, if you follow the blueprint. If you follow the blueprint, you'll be blessed. But if you do what you want to do, sin lieth at your door. And the devil's going to rule over you. This is what God is telling Cain. And we know that instead of Cain steady hardened his heart. And I'm going to get right to that. Why did Cain harden his heart and eventually kill his brother? Why did he kill his brother? Well, let's look at it. Let's go back. They're both, that this is for Christianity. These are the two types of Christians of our day. Why did I say this? Because they're both acknowledging that God is supreme. Let's not get it wrong. Cain did not say that God was not supreme. He's building an altar to God. He's trying to worship God. So he's acknowledging God is supreme. Both of them are building an altar to God. But let's say the altar is their life. But instead of Cain following the blueprint, following God's 10 commandments law, the commands of God, the blueprint, Cain feels like he can make his own rules and do what he wants and bring what he wants to the table. And so right there, he's showing rebellion. And you got to remember, beloved, when mankind, when Adam sinned and Eve sinned, mankind came under rebellion to God. We have to watch that rebellious spirit that grows inside of us. I have to watch that rebellious spirit. And how I grew up, I definitely have to watch that rebellious spirit that grows up, that can creep up inside of us. But Cain has this spark of rebellion. Anytime God says do it this way, and we feel it's okay to make excuses and do it the opposite way, We're being rebellious. So right here, Cain is disobeying God. Why was it easy for him to go to disobeying God to a murderer in one day? Why was it so easy? Because what does James 2 tell us? If you are guilty of one commandment, of breaking one commandment, you're guilty of breaking them all. And I'm going to show how in the actions of Cain, Cain broke all 10 commandments. And that's why it was easy for him to murder, because one of the commandments is thou shalt not kill. He had became a murderer from breaking one of the other commandments. He automatically became a murderer. Y'all might say, wow, but beloved, this is deep. This rabbit hole is deep. When you transgress, when you rebel against God, when you feel like it's okay to lie, when we make excuses to break one little commandment or hold on to one, well, of course we're going to fall. What I'm talking about is when you hold on to breaking a commandment, when you have a habit of lying and you're not trying to change that, you might as well, the ripple effect is you become a murderer, you become an adulterer in your heart. All these other things just naturally happen. Why? Because you're in full out rebellion. How did Cain break all of the commandments? Let's look at it. The first commandment is worship God only. To worship God and to serve God and to have no other gods before God, you have to do what he says. So right there, when he didn't do what God said, he wasn't serving God. Really, he was serving himself. So that goes into the second commandment. It says, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images. We can make ourselves an image and an idol. And it says, don't bow down thyself to them or worship him. Cain's fruit was his idol. His works, the good things that he did for the neighborhood. Oh, I'm a good person. These became his idol. And in his case, it was literally fruit. Apples, oranges, things of that nature. But the spiritual significance of that is the works that he did in his life. But his fruit was his idol. He himself was his idol. He felt like he didn't have to do what God said. Right there, he was the ruler of his life. He was an idol. He broke the second commandment by bowing down and worshiping himself. The fruit of the works of his hands, his car, his house. These things became his idol. The third one, he took the name of the Lord God in vain. He was a child of God, but he was only in it for self. He wasn't in it to serve God. He took the name of the Lord in vain. Are you a Christian who takes the name Christian in vain? Or are you only a Christian by name, but you're not serving God at all? You're taking the name of the Lord in vain. If God says keep my commandments, or God says do something a certain way, and you don't do it, you're taking his name in vain. You're using his name, but you're not living up to the name. You're taking the name in vain. The fourth commandment, the Sabbath. The Sabbath is to honor God. Is he honoring God by telling them, I'm going to do what I want to do? That's not honoring God at all. That's not honoring God at all. So he breaks the fourth commandment. He's not upholding God as the creator. See, that's the purpose of the Sabbath, is to you giving the knowledge that, hey, God is the creator of all things. God is my master. So he's not upholding God at all. Did he honor his father and mother? No, he brought dishonor by killing Abel. This is how he, by not putting the fruit on the altar, and by killing his brother Abel, he brought dishonor to his mother and father. He brought shame upon them. Who wants to know that, hey, my son, the first child born, is the first open rebellious knucklehead on earth? He brought shame to his mother and father. He became a killer. How did he kill? Of course, when he killed his brother. How did he steal? He stole from his mother and father when he killed his brother. He took from them their son. He stole He stole from them. He took from them their joy. He took from them joy, happiness, pain. You know, sometimes I used to think that my actions only affected myself, but I didn't realize I was stealing from those that love me. I was stealing joy from them. When I got locked up, I was locked up over 23 times in my life. All them times I'm locked up, in and out of jail, I'm stealing joy from somebody that loves me. I'm stealing happiness. I'm stealing peace. That's what he took from. He took it from his parents. He someone from the Lord. You know, how did it become a lie? Oh, he flat out lied to God when God said after he killed his brother, and he said, Where's Abel? He said, am I my brother's keeper? Here he is, not only being sarcastic, he's being sarcastic while he's lying. This how much in one day, how far he fell from God, how far he pulled himself from God through his wanting to do his own thing. But beloved, even though this all came to light in one day, Cain was living his life like this up to this point. He was living by his own rules, things of that nature. That's why when it came time to sacrifice, when it came time to submit himself, what we've been talking about this whole series, when it came time to be obedient, all of this stuff came out. Why? Because it started from one little spark. I don't have to do what God tells me to do. I can bring fruit to the altar. I can bring fruit to the altar. How did he covet? The last commandment, how did he covet? He got mad and coveted his brother's blessing. He was mad at Abel because Abel got approved and he didn't. He coveted the blessing of Abel. When even God told him, all you got to do is do right. Now, how foolish does that sound? You get mad at your brother because he's accepted by God, when all you got to do is do right too. Your brother got a flock of lambs. All you had to do was pull out the lamb, kill one, and place it on the altar. But because he cherished rebellion in his heart, I could do my own thing. Beloved, this is the lie. The lie of Cain is the lie of Satan. That's what Satan told the angels in heaven. We don't need God's law. That's why they failed it. He told the angels, we're holy already. We can make our own rules. We don't need to live by God's law. We're not up under God's law. We're up under God's grace. Don't we hear that today in churches? We better be careful about where that saying came from. You do not see that saying in the word. They misconstrue and twist Paul's words when Paul says we're no longer up under a schoolmaster. No, because you're graduating. Do you stay in high school your whole life? No, eventually you graduate, but you still uphold the things that you learned in school. You know, that's what Paul is saying. He's saying eventually you got to graduate. Can you grow? He's not saying that you're no longer, you kick the schoolmaster and, you know, you're like, I can't believe I was up under him. No, you still live by what you learn. You still live by the law. But eventually you graduate, you grow up, you know. But they twist Paul's words, and Peter even warns it. Peter says it. Peter says be careful because Paul's words and understanding can be taken the wrong way. So, beloved, and you know if Peter was warning us against it, it's because he's seen it happening. And that's what the devil is cleverly doing in Christianity today. Don't believe the lie of Cain. Your good works are not good enough to be pleasing to God. I have to watch myself just because I get on YouTube, just because I have this online ministry, just because I have a public access TV show, just because I might help somebody out here in the street who needs help, just because I might give Bible studies, just because I might spend hours doing this or hours doing that. That fruit that I'm bringing to the altar isn't what God wants. God wants me to acknowledge that I need a Savior. See, that's the real meaning of what happened that day. When Cain refused to put a lamb on the altar, he was really saying, I don't need Jesus. Because who was representative of the lamb? Jesus was the lamb. So spiritually, Cain was really saying, I don't need Jesus as my redeemer. My actions, my good works is good enough. I don't need a Savior. I'm all right. You know, I'm all right. I got a good job. I got a good house. I got a good car. I don't really need a Savior. That's what he was really saying. Where humble Abel was obedient and submissive. Abel followed the blueprint. Abel acknowledged the fact that, hey, I need a savior. That's why they did that sacrifice on a regular basis, because it was to remind them that, hey, the only reason God did not wipe our parents out was because Jesus had chose to take their place. They were supposed, Adam and Eve was supposed to be murdered, right? God was supposed to destroy them right then and there. But Jesus had before they even sinned, Jesus had already said, Father, when sin comes on earth, I'm going to take their place. That's the only reason they didn't die. Abel acknowledged that. Abel knew about it. Oh yeah, Cain knew about it. And just to get a little deep, I was about to end, but I'm gonna share something with y'all. I'm gonna get a little deep with y'all. In Genesis 3:15, when the prophecy is given that Eve will have a son who will be the Messiah, she thought it was gonna be her first child. She thought Cain was gonna be the Messiah, y'all. So Cain had been built up by his parents, sort of with the big head, that he was going to be the Messiah. So he was like, why do I need to put a lamb on the altar when I am the Messiah? I am the chosen one. And that's what sometimes the devil has deceived us. Isn't that what the devil told Eve? You will be as gods. See, that thought of being our own God, of ruling our own life, is a dangerous thought, and the devil has cleverly twisted it through time. See, he just flat out told Eve, you'll be like God, you'll be as gods. She fell for it, got hungry, wanting that power to rule her own life, and brought sin into the world. Cain being fed that, oh, you might be the Messiah. She actually hoped that her first child was gonna be the Messiah. You might be the Messiah. You might be the Messiah. So he thinking, why do I need Jesus? Why do I need to obey? I'm my own God. I make my own rules. I could be the Messiah. See, the devil still has that same mentality. He just twisted it just a little bit to say, you're up under grace. You don't need the law. Because the minute we're not keeping God's law, we're keeping our own laws, making us our own God. And we fall to the lie of Cain, thinking that we don't have to keep the blueprint to be accepted by God. Y'all have a good one.